Okay, we're going to do a install of a 4-door hardtop. Be a quick install. Once you get your parts in the mail, you're going to have, this is the front, you're going to have 3 holes previously drilled in the face of it. And you're going to have 4 holes drilled in the back of the front unit. You also have a rubber seal right here that helps seal up the windshield. If you purchase the canvas sides at the time of the top, you'll also receive the aluminum rail that will be top riveted to the unit as well. Then you're going to receive the back half of the unit. The back half, if you receive the sides, has the rails already put on it, and it has the rails put on the back for the back part as well. What you're going to do is you'll lay out your parts, these tools that's recommended in the directions. The first thing we're going to do is take our drill and an 1/8 inch drill bit, and we're going to drill out the center rivet or the center snap in the middle. So all you do is take an 1/8 inch drill bit and you drill the rivet out of the snap, and then you want to save this snap for later. So after we do that, we're going to change to a 7/64 drill bit, and that's what we'll be using for most of the installation. You take the back half of your top. Let me stop for a second. The P-clamps, I always put the P-clamps on first. So if you look at the P-clamps, the directions will tell you to put 1 P-clamp in the center and 1 at 18 inches from this bar, which is about here. I like to put an extra P-clamp. You do get an extra one in there, especially if you're going to use the unit a lot with the front off. It's always best to have 4 instead of 3. So you would do 1 at approximately 6 inches and 1 at 18 inches. Then in the back, you have 1 P-clamp in the back. Just put it in the center and the same on the other side. So then you'll lay your top on the back half. Set it through. You also notice that some units you get in, the bars in the center are not exactly straight. Every unit is different. So the way we're going to put this on is the way that I put them on every day. The directions will tell you to go ahead and fasten this and then do the front. I like to do it all in one piece because this bar is never exactly the same. The other side could be different, this side could be different. So this is the best way to put it on. Is set the back on. Then you'll take the front. And you're set it on. What I like to do is take a couple welding clamps. They're smooth so they don't leave any ridges like vice grips would use, or you could use squeeze clamps and line up back here in the back. You'll notice there's a lip on the back here with a foam strip and a little piece here, and this is to keep it from leaking. So what you want to do is line these 2 edges up. And just put a clamp in it. Same on the other side as well. You line it up as best as you can and get it tight up against that lip. And then clamp it down as well. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take the front of the unit and you're going to push it against its foam seal and push down on it. You want about a 1/2 inch of clearance here on both sides is what it'll come out to be, is roughly about a 1/2 inch. So if you take and measure that, comes out right about a 1/2 inch. So you want to push that all the way down and get it tight. I typically will use, you know, like a big clamp, and just clamp it on here so it's down. And do the same thing on this side here is make sure that you have the unit tight all the way back so it's up against the seal. Roughly about a 1/2 inch, or the thickness of your finger will work as well. Then the back, you just want to make sure your back is even on each side. So you'll have approximately 3/4 of an inch to an inch on each side. And make sure that that's the same. You can see it's a little bit crooked, so we'll pull it over just a little bit and equal it out to even on both sides. And the front stays where it's at. So once I have the front where it's at, I'll take my 17/64 drill bit, and all I'll do is hold down the front, the middle, and right directly in top, just make a mark in the paint. Do the same in the center, and do the same on this side. It just makes a mark in the paint, so you know where to drill your hole. So once I have all that done, I'll leave that where it's at. I'll take these off here. Take the other clamp off, and then we'll just slide it back just a little bit to work. So at this point, I'm going to change over to my 3/8 drill bit. And then I'm going to drill out each hole that I have here. You want to make it as straight as possible and drill your hole out all the way through in all 3 spots. That way you'll be able to put in this jack nut. The jack nut will come assembled to you. You'll have 3 of them loose, and 1 of them will have a nut and a bolt on it. The reason for that is once you put your jack nut in the hole, you're going to use a 9/16 wrench, and you're going to use a 7/16 wrench to tighten that up. You'll stick that in the hole. This is real important. I'll show you how this jack nut works. As I tighten that up, it mushrooms out. So you want to put that in there. You want to tighten it up, not super tight. You know, once you get it and it starts getting up against the metal, it's going to start getting snug, and you'll feel it in your wrench. You don't want to, that's about, you know, it's pretty snug, but you don't want to wrench it way down, because what happens is what'll happen is you'll stretch your threads, and then you'll have trouble putting your clamps in. So once that's out, you repeat that step in the center and the other side as well. And that's what it'll look like. And then you'll have your threads will be in this part here, and that's where your knob will go down to tighten it up. So after you've completed that step and you've got all those in, you can take this and just put it back on. You'll take your 3 knobs. You have a metal washer and a rubber washer. The metal washer goes on first, and then the plastic. And what I like to do is just kind of raise it up a little bit so you can see where you're at. And you want to make sure that you put this in here to where these twist and turn very easy. So you don't want to have anything turn hard, because what happens is when you go to turn it hard, then the jack nut will spin out. So you'll put that in, and you'll put those in. Now this one here is just a little bit hard because I probably hit it with the drill bit, but and that will go in here. This one will go in here. Now for some reason, if you go to put it in, and for some reason that you know, they should go in that easy. So, but I'll come to the other side. And for some reason, if it doesn't go in and you're having trouble getting it to start, it doesn't want to start easy, you'll need to take a 1/4 tap and re-tap that jack nut. And it looks like the center one needs to be done that way. And then that goes in here and you just tighten it down just like the other one. For some reason, if you do these and if they're too tight, you can't, it's too much, you'll need to take a 1/4 tap and you can put it on your drill and run it down, run it down in your threads and straighten your threads up, because what happens is if you over tighten that jack nut, it stretches the threads a little bit and then it doesn't want to tighten up. So you'll put those in there. You'll notice that this stayed all the same. So what you'll do at this point is change over to your 17/64 drill bit, which is just 1 step larger than a 1/4 inch. So you'll go back here to the back. You still have this centered, and you'll take your P-clamp and put it right directly in the center of this here. So if you measured from this protrusion here on the top over to the clamp, would be about 5 inches in the center. So, but you want to be centered from here to here. So you just put your P-clamp in, you'll take your drill bit and go up in the hole of the P-clamp. And then just go right up through the top of the roof. And you can see my drill bit comes out of the top of the roof. That way it lines all up evenly. So what you'll do at that point is you'll take another knob with the metal washer and the rubber washer. The metal washer goes on first, then the rubber. You just put it through the hole up at the top, put it through your P-clamp, and then you'll take a T-handle knob like this and put that on the inside. And just hold that in place, and then you can just tighten this right up. And the T-handle will go up against the P-clamp and keep it from spinning on you. And you can tighten it down pretty snug. And just tighten that down there so it's nice and snug. And you do the same thing on the other side as well. Now when you're doing the center, this is important because these don't seem to line up. These bars will be different on every unit. So it's hard to just determine which way to do it. So the best way to do it is put it together as one piece. This whole thing is together. So if you look on the inside here, you have your P-clamp here. And what you'll do is take your drill and go through your P-clamp, and you can just go right through the first layer, but don't just barely go through. You don't want to go clear through the front half of the top, because then you'll have a leak. So all you want to do is just put one hole in there just like so, and do the same thing on the other side. Once you've done that, you can take this apart. So once you've done that and you've done the same thing to this side, then you can take this apart. You can set it on the floor or just move it back. And then you'll take a stove bolt with a metal washer and a rubber. Metal goes first and then the rubber. And then you'll use one serrated nut. You can put a washer on it if you'd like. The kit does come with washers. So what you'll do is go ahead and put this in here. And then put your nut on. And then you can tighten that up with a 7/16 nut driver. So after you've done that and you have both sides fastened, and you have both sides fastened down, then you can go ahead and take your center P-clamp. You can do it here in the center, or you can do one here. So you can have 4, and just drill up through there and do the same thing. You'll take a stove bolt with a nut. And put that through your P-clamp. And then tighten that up as well. So once you've done that, you can put your top back on. You'll go ahead and put your knob back on the front. Put your knobs in there, and then you'll go ahead and pull this back down, and you can clamp this back. So you have this where you had it before. Just go ahead and clamp it. And then you'll notice this hole here was already pre-drilled when you got your top, and there's another one right here that's pre-drilled, and 2 more on the other side. You'll take your 17/64 drill bit, here, and then all you do is just drill straight down into the bottom. So when you drill straight down into the other top, then you'll take your piece, and put that in, and then take your T-handle or T-knob, and you'll put that here. And then that just tighten that up, and you'll have another one here. You'll drill that hole straight through, and the same 2 on the other side as well. And that concludes your installation. It's completely set. You should have your rails should be pretty close. It's hard to get them exactly because every top is completely different. Every unit's different. So when it goes on, you just want to make sure you got it pretty close. If for some reason that you did not buy the sides with the top, it would come without rails. And you just want to line this up as much as possible. So then when you do decide to buy the sides and put rails on, just line up your rails and make sure they meet before you drill and pop rivet them in. And that should conclude the top installation for a 4-door.